liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
There we go. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. There we go. It's even the wrong backdrop, Matthew. There we go. Let's try this again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary and discussion on the Star Wars books that came out today. And in this case, one of them came out last week, or ideally. But today is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. It is the 48th week of comics in 2024 of 52. That's right. It's December. We're rolling right along, coming up to the end of the year. I'm Matthew. He's Chris. Chris, how you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, man. I've been dealing with a deluge of Star Wars. I was telling you, I was like, I think I'm finally treading water. I'm finally complete with all my longer form Star Wars reviews. And then I get another insider. I'm like, it's never ending, man.
Never ending.
I gotta get a breath. I gotta take a breath at the surface. Yes. I'm drowning over here in Star Wars goodness. So
yeah, it's a good problem to have. To have. We'll get into the break in a bit. For those who are watching on YouTube or seeing this on YouTube or Twitch, but also for those who can't see this on audio, we got someone who's maybe new to you, not at all new to me. It's my comrade in arms over from the Canon Podcast, right here on the Underworld Network. It's Mr. Joel Davis from good old Orange County, California. Joel, how are you doing this week?
Look at my Canon doesn't have a fancy intro. Where's my clip of me saying something profound in the middle of the do?
We should get on that. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Yeah. Glad to be here.
Yes, long time no see. It's been 48 hours, just over 48 hours. So long. There we go. We got a podcast every day, Joel, is what you're saying. There we go. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll get into what that's all about in a minute. Get the plugs out of the way. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD, and on Blue Sky at ironcannon.bluesky.bsky.social. You can also follow Chris on Twitter at StarRaptor, StarRapter, and youtube.com/StarRaptor, where yours truly makes an appearance this past Sunday. So, check that out. We'll pick that up again. Yeah, it was a great conversation.
Good episode. Yeah, if I do say myself.
Yes, I do say so as well. So there we go. Also, we are proudly part of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network, as mentioned, here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. We got YouTube memberships and we got super chats. So if you chat with us, if you comment in the box down below, we'll get to it when we can, usually sooner rather than later. If you super chat us, we'll get to it sooner. Please feel free to support the channel. We appreciate any assistance you can provide and any contribution you can make to support what we do here at Star Wars Underworld, etc. Also, the Star Wars Underworld Discord server. Check that out. Link in the description below. We're all three of us are in there, especially Joel. I mention him every week. Give you guys homework to tag him and ask him what his favorite this, that, and the other are. Joel, while you're here, any events that happened recently in the Discord? Anything coming up down the pipe?
Last week, of course, we had watched a movie. It was Squadron 633, an old-timey squadron fighter plane movie. Which would probably be one of the many things I would recommend for someone to watch if they want to make Rogue Squadron a movie. And while I haven't announced it, I do believe plan this week, my bad, to do hopefully a game night on the Discord. It's a good old-fashioned game night. Fun and exciting.
There we go.
I actually have, I know this has nothing to do with this at all, but sure. If I was to throw out a game recommendation, there's a brand new Marvel free-to-play game called Marvel Rivals, which is coming out on Friday. Ooh. You guys should probably play that.
Is it multi-platform?
Oh yeah, it's multi-platform. I don't think it's on Switch. I have to look it up, but I think it's on everything else.
Ooh, okay. Well, I recommend
free to play.
There we go.
I'll definitely install it.
Making the magic happen right here live on YouTube. There we go. So yes, do check that out. Also, conversations about comics, about Star Wars books, about everything happening, including there was a Star Wars story that came out this week. It was pretty fun. It's pretty fun, pretty engaging, pretty wild. It is an audio drama by Kevin Scott called Tempest Breaker. Okay, we will talk about Skeleton Crew later on in the show, but for now, very quickly, Chris, you finished the thing, Tempest Breaker. Let us know. Give us very quickly, maybe for a few minutes, non-spoiler review of Tempest Breaker.
Yeah, so it's basically a continuation of the Marvel comics that me and you reviewed. It's probably the closest thing to a continuation of any comic medium. You had guessed this and you hit the nail on the head, where it's like, oh yeah, Kevin Scott is ending the comics early because he's doing his story in audio form. And then it's going to pick up with the next series, which we got a preview of in the back of the comic this week of, hey, this is when this is coming out. Or actually, no, that was in the Star Wars Insider magazine. I seen that, but I digress. But yeah, it's basically, okay, you got Keith Trennis, you got Balin Bulan, what is his name? Yeah, Baron Bulan. Yeah. And it left off kind of a cliffhanger in the comics. Like, okay, they got to the asteroid base and they got the guy. Now what's going to happen? So it tells you about what happens, but it also fills in the gaps too beforehand, because it's basically framed by a real Darrow, who is the Republic journalist that was stuck in the occlusion zone. She's now been out. She was tasked to interview Lorna D. And it's a fun framing of the design, because it's able to, like, oh, what happened then? What happened in this time? So they're able to go like all the way pre-Starlight Beacon Fall to probably the furthest in the timeline right now. So it covers a lot of ground. It's a little over 6 hours long, but it is by far the highest production value of any audio drama that Star Wars has put out yet. Just the amount of amazing voice work. We're talking like people acting their asses off in this thing. Like they must have been like play acting fighting or something, because the amount of guttural noises and everything else, but also like the high emotional moments where it's like, damn, that almost brought a tear to my eye. Like these really high, strong moments, and everything else in between, and the sound effects. Oh my goodness! Like hearing Baron, I don't know why I can't get his name. Baron Bulan.
Yeah.
Historian that has a vocabulator, but he also, in the recording, they added a nice little detail. If you can hear the actual Ithorian voice, like a little bit lower than the vocabulary, so it's like a double voice coming through, but it sounds awesome. And I think Mark Thompson does the voice of Skier, but oh my goodness, like that guy absolutely kills it as Skier. Just the amount of rage and the screaming he has to do. It's just like, how did this guy even have a vocal cords after recording this thing? And he did like 2 other characters. He does Marchion Ro, and there's another character he does as well. And Marchion Ro is just, it feels so unique compared to Skier. Like, how is this guy doing the same voice for both of these characters? A different voice for both of these characters. It's insane. But it's got really high highs, and you know, it's going to be one of those things where even if you have it, I think they do a brilliant job with the framing device of catching up readers or listeners on what Lorna D was doing, because this is, in all intents and purposes, a sequel to Tempest Runner, which was like her origin story. This is telling, okay, pick it up right off from that and fill in the gaps for people that didn't read the comics and catching up. So you see where you are. They're dealing kind of with the Blight. They're dealing with Baron Bulan. Okay, that's enough. I'm not going to try to say the guy's name anymore. And it's a really good listen. It flies by. The best thing I can say about it is if you close your eyes, you think you're listening to a Star Wars movie. Like it's everything intents and purposes of Star Wars movie, or in cases, actually, this is probably as long as Star Wars series with how short these darn Disney Plus episodes are. You're basically listening to a series, closing your eyes and imagining you're there. You know, it's really awesome stuff. It's a Star Wars story without the screen, essentially.
That's fantastic to hear. I mean, Mark the Canon legend Thompson, he's done Skier and others. I mean, basically any of the audiobooks, any of the novels, I should say, he's done Skier. So it doesn't surprise me that he knocks it out of the park, because he knocks everything out of the park. And yeah, like we were saying, good to hear that it's really is a continuation of the comic. Again, as I expected and as I was predicting. And so the first, I've only listened to the first section, the first chapter, if you will, and from what I've heard, already riveting, gets you right in there. Lauren Adi, the actress who voices her, so distinctive already, and so right back into it from Tempest Runner. So looking forward to that. Joel, I bet you're looking forward to it too. Any thoughts on that?
I just always so Mark Thompson is not voicing Marchion Rose. He is voicing Marchion Rose.
Chris, you're muted. Yeah,
he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Wild.
Is he doing that kind of voice like this? And then the Jedi, and he gets all mad.
Yeah, definitely. He's got good range. Like he is very composed, and then when he gets angry, it's like, oh shh. Like I kind of like stood in my seat, like sat up, like oh crap. Like
as someone who always listens to the audiobooks for the High Republic, like I can't help but kind of giggle at his Marchion Rose voice. I find it very funny for some reason. Yeah. It's always so soft until he shrieks and gets mad.
It's deranged, is what it is, right?
It is. But no, I just finished Temptation of the Four, so I don't know whether to start Tears of the Nameless or go to this one next.
Well, go through this one because, you listen to Tears of the Nameless too. But that's the thing, Chris. You're gonna have to figure out Baron Boulogn's name lots because when I finish this thing, when Joel, you finish this thing, we're gonna do it right here on Tractor Beam because it's a continuation of the comic book story. And so it's what the Tractor Beam drags in. So, Joel, if you finish it in time, but also Tears of the Nameless is one of the best Star Wars novels of all time. So there's that. Saying hi from Jesse. How's it going? Good to see you. It's been worse. Don't worry. Chris, you should get a haircut apparently. There we go. But yeah, good to see you, Jesse. All right, that's Chris, thanks for filling us in on Tempest Breaker. I'm really looking forward to getting into it more. There were actually 2 more Star Wars stories that came out this week, or one more Star Wars story that came out this week. Another one for a lot of folks ended up in the stores this week because the Great Diamond Meltdown of November 2024. Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege, number 2 and 3. We're gonna ostensibly sort of talk about them separately, but also knowing that the conversation is going to bleed through, I'm going to read both descriptions together, and then and then I'll throw it to you guys for thoughts on number 2. I'll give my thoughts on number 2, and then we'll let the conversation go organically, but let's start with the mindset of 2 and then 3. Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege, numbers 2 and 3, written by Alex Segura, art by Stefano Raffaele, colors by Alex Sinclair, and cover by Torrin Clark. Here's the cover of number 2. And then Chris or Joel, Chris, do you have the cover of number 3? Ready to pop that up? There we go.
I don't have a cover with me at the moment.
Yeah, that's okay. I got Mon Mothma and Chelli. Luke, there we go. All right, number 2, Luke and Dr. Aphra join forces to fight off a surprise attack as the remaining Imperials plot their next attack. Luke Skywalker must battle his way through a gang of Force-focused zealots. A faction of Imperial survivors plot to return the Empire to its past glory and hint at a huge struggle to come. Can Luke survive against a giant swamp rat? As the defiant Imperial consolidates his power and allegiances, he discovers a traitor. So that's issue number 2, and then moving on to issue number 3, A New Republic on the ropes. Lando and his allies defeated. Mon Mothma faces a painful loss. Luke Skywalker must defeat 2 of the galaxy's deadliest killers to reach his friends. Moff Adelhard plays his final card against the New Republic with shocking consequences. I believe that might be for number 4. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But yeah, first off, one thing I do want to address right off the bat, Chris, when we're talking about number 1, that there was this interesting time jump, this weird time jump, and why are Luke and Rin on the planet where they get this this device, this kind of time device. I don't remember that is. Just there's this weird time jump that was like, how did they get there and what's going on? Issue number 2 doesn't exactly address that directly either, but what it does do is at least say what Luke gives us, what Luke thinks about it, and what he discovers, what he realizes is that Adelhard is just trying to divide and conquer. He's trying to keep Luke and Leia and Lando and Han, all of them separate. Han's off doing his thing, of course, on Kashyyyk and whatnot, and the I know like the that something locked that planet, the prison, whatever. In Chuck Wendig's Aftermath Life Debt. But yeah, here Luke really saying, oh shoot, we're kind of divided because this device, Chelli, of course, who shows up at the end of issue 1, great moment that we kind of thought would happen, but we still enjoyed it, still felt it. She shows up, and I'm glad to see her straight up say, "Yeah, it's a fake. You're being distracted here. I'm here to actually warn you and help you out," and that's satisfying. It's again another thing that's nice that I was, if we're tracking Chelli's story through how many years of comic books, to see her come and say, yeah, she's playing the scoundrel, out for her own good, and it kind of with Rin, she's kind of playing that a little bit, but Luke knows better, and so Chelli's able, Dr. Chelli Aphra is able to join forces and fight off this surprise attack with Luke and be genuinely helpful. So I read this yesterday, so I'm trying to remember too much, but it was again another exciting issue moving the story forward. And that giant swamp rat, that was a wild design, kind of right out of Ewoks and all those things on Endor. We see it, which in the Caravan of Courage, one of those wild creatures. And again, looking at Luke's character moving his story forward, he is formidable, but he's still also compassionate, and that that comes into play in issue number 3 as well. Chris, I'll throw this to you. It's been a bit of a week or so since you read it, but hopefully you'll be able to catch back up. What do you think of issue number 2 of Republic Under Siege?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good because it really delivers the threat of Adelhard and his regime. Like, they're just putting out assassination hits on these Republic's dignitaries. We get to see more of that in issue number 3. So when it comes to that, I'm like, okay, this guy, he continues to mean business. It was good to catch up with another character post Return of the Jedi. We know Dr. Aphra would have survived, obviously, into those events, but it's still going to be like, all right, what's she doing? What's she up to? So for me, it was a good kind of catch-up episode, or issue rather, of seeing where everybody is. What'd you think about this one, Joel? I'm bringing up my notes. I was very brief. Okay. I'm bringing up my notes because I did not have them ready to see. It's been a while. I've already forgot about the last issue because I have the new one to talk about.
That happens. Oh no, I've enjoyed all of this for the most part. I would love maybe a little bit more of Aphra and Luke. Talk about, hey, Vader's dead. And Aphra's like, hooray, I'm free. No more Vader to hunt me down. But I guess it's still a short book. Of course, I'm loving the Imperial intrigue. I find the Rax versus Adelhard storyline very compelling. I mean, we get to actually see Gallius Rax in the flesh, red cape and all. That's exciting. I will bring up, because it hasn't been talked about on this podcast, and I'm the one who I think I've noticed the most. There are some continuity errors with the Aftermath novels. Yeah. I've noticed, as someone who knows the Aftermath novels like the back of my hand. They're not big. It's just like Rax didn't call himself Counselor until after Sloane was abandoned by him. I don't think she's even supposed to know about his plans for Jakku until after the Chandrilla assassination in Aftermath 2. And obviously there's the whole Sloane wasn't made Grand Admiral until after the Akiva meeting, which was after Aftermath 1. But outside of that, that's just basic. Maybe just how to summarize it because it's a comic. But outside of that, I'm really liking it. It is interesting to see how quickly Adelhard become a threat, despite being still quite a small Imperial, where it seems like Rax has more of the lion's share of the remnant forces under his command at the moment. We can probably get into this a little bit more in the next issue, because we know Rax is politicking and stuff. But I am going to be curious to see how that shakes out, because ultimately Rax kind of wins in that his faction is the one that gets to go to the unknown regions, and who knows what happens to Adelhard. So I'll be curious to see what goes on there in terms of, like, they're building him up, but also Rax is kind of the one who has to win at the end of the day. So I'll be curious about that. Again, it's cool seeing Luke and Aphra. I hope they meet again and they can have a bit more of a talk about, hey, Vader's dead. hey, my father got redeemed, and Aphra's like, I don't care, he's dead. I'm free. Hooray for
Yeah,
me.
that'll be conversation for sure.
And, it's cool seeing the acolytes of the Beyond. I forget if this was the issue where they fight them, but once again, I always say every time they have Luke fight a redhead, I'm like, oh, you're just teasing at this point.
Yeah, I think it was issue 1, but yeah.
You're all teasing. But no, this was good. This was fun, and I've been enjoying this run on the whole.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention too is seeing Lando Luck. Lando's Luck.
Lady Luck.
There was a book called Lando's Luck. That's why.
Yes. The Lady Luck is the ship.
Lady Luck. Great to see that ship with Preeti, which is the significant other of Rin. They're out there, and then it's like Lando knowing when to call it. Like Pretty's like, no, we can do it. We can do it. And he's just like, no, I'm cutting our losses now. Let's be the survivors here and get back to the base because Adelhard is, even though he's like kind of pushed into a corner, still deadly to go in that area. So we're seeing like Lando probing the defenses of the Inuit sector's iron blockade, as if you will, and it's still very formidable. So it's cool to see Lando, especially not having much Han Solo in the book. It is good to actually see Lando still.
Yeah, I mean, everything with Lando that continues even from Empire Strikes Back. He's clearly being more respectable, and now he's being strategic, but strategic in a way that's about preserving the lives of the people who are around him. And it's not just, yes, it's also it's good tactics to know this isn't a battle we can win. We got to pull out to fight another day. But yeah, he has this heartfelt moment that, I couldn't save. I promised Rin to get you back, and I couldn't save the other folks who got ambushed. Now I'm going to save you by pulling you out. So also continuation of, again, what we've seen of him in Charles Soule's run, right? That he clearly is. People maybe has a reputation, but he's clearly out for the good of the rebellion, the good of the Republic, the common good, and he's able to swoop in. He takes the risk of swooping in and coming in, is able to come out and know when to make the call. I've got to say, and Joel, you mentioned Rax. I'm glad you were the one too, because you're the Imperial fan, not their ideology, just the story and the war.
Okay, good. Just we're clear.
We're clear. That is a running joke, but it's amazing though. My reaction was how unremarkable, and it's the compliment, by the way, compliment to Alex and to Stefano and them, how unremarkable seeing Rax was. It's like, oh yeah, of course we're gonna see Rax and then Sloane right there. It's just, of course, he's going to be taking charge of this version of whatever the Shadow Council or whatever we'll call it yet. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's been built up for 10 years. But there he is. And he's in all his splendor. He's so normal. There wasn't any sort of and that's partly just the way
there's no build up. It was just like, oh, there he is. Like
now, he was hinted at I think in Insurgency Rising, kind of in the shadows there. But the big point is to really underlie this rivalry, between Adelhard and the rest of the Imperial remnant. And the question, like Joel, you mentioned, how far can Adelhard go? How formidable is he going to get? Because let me tell you, talking about issue number 3, he's pretty darn formidable. And so, they're definitely a big threat. And so what does that do to the stability of the galaxy? He even starts to point to Jakku, and we see this again in issue 3. He has at least some sense of where things are headed. And so, very, again, I'm really impressed by Adelhard overall. Just the way this, again, an unknown character, relatively unknown character from this mobile game, but not really a character. Like, I'm guessing Chris and Joel, you guys can confirm this for me. He doesn't really have much character in the mobile game. He's just there, I gather. Probably a little bit of mustache twirling, but here there's a bit of mustache twirling, but there's also just you get this sense of stern and under control, but also has his passions and has his has his motivations that maybe that might be his undoing as well. So yeah, really incredible issue. Again, incredible given how unremarkable the Rax reveal is, because it's so maybe that's also a testament to how well situated. Yeah, you mentioned the continuity things. I don't know how well situated this run has been with everything that's come before. Again, books that came out 10 years ago were never like 8-9 years ago.
Oh,
So so that's probably why it felt so natural. So that you guys have any Joel, you any more thoughts on that?
Oh no, I just wanted to add on a little bit about what you were talking about. I mean, again, there's some things that like book wise, like this doesn't really line up to what would happen in the book here and this thing and that thing. But outside of that, it's like, oh no, this is very much fits nicely into the retroactively made, I call post Jakku multimedia project. Not post Jakku, post Endor pre Jakku multimedia project, where it's like, everything kind of neatly aligning up. Rax is the player in this particular 1 year interval. So of course he's gonna show up. Of course he's gonna be, manipulating things. Although honestly, he's shown up more here than he did in Alfred Squadron or Squadrons, where it felt like he didn't exist at all. So that's actually, and I love Alfred Squadron. Don't get me wrong. They talk more about Sloane than they did Rax, so that's nice. But no, I really have loved it, and it's just nice to finally see him. And again, I am very curious to see where this Rax Adelhard rivalry ends up. I hope they meet at least once. That will be fun.
Yes. And so, Chris, do you have any last thoughts on issue number 2?
Yeah, I was actually disappointed about the Dr. Aphra appearance. I feel like it didn't really live up to the hype. It was just very quick and just like, do we really even need her in here? Like, it just felt like, okay, like she came and I feel like she gave him information that he should have known in the first place. Like, oh yeah, by the way, the acolytes of the Beyond aren't all what they're not cracked out to be. It's like, well, I could have told you that. Like, he could have figured that out. He is not the same far boy that he was in A New Hope at this point. Like, he's a lot wiser. Oh yeah, by the way, like they're pulling you away from the main fight, so you're distracted. And she just was there. I just felt like I was hoping she would be more of a central player. I guess I was hoping for, rather than just like a quick cameo kind of thing.
I see what you mean. I mean, she's such a strong character. We're so used to she's had 3 of her own so far. So yeah, we're so used to her being such a strong presence. Even when she's teaming up with Luke, and it's mentioned reference, you got the editorial note. The few times she's teamed up with Luke, that there've been real team ups and being part of her character growth that I was mentioning before towards someone who isn't just all about, kind of similar to Lando, right? Isn't just all about her own making a quick buck on some dupes, but actually having a bigger thing to fight for. So yeah, maybe that's the challenge for Chelli here for folks who want to write Chelli, is where does she go now as a character? And maybe that's, I do see what you're saying. I didn't mind it myself, but I do see what you're saying in that, we want the emblematic struggle of is she gonna, what does it even look like? The emblematic struggle is she gonna turn tail or at least make a quip or something and be like, oh, I don't join or whatever. She still might do that, but where does she go? We do need to, as a character, we do really want that. So, hopefully we get more of her in Battle of Jakku in the last arc there. But come on, Alyssa, keep writing, Chelli, or whoever wants to take on the mantle. Has some mighty shoes to fill, but this is emblem. This shows us that there's just so much more to the character than this little cameo. I guess is kind of what you're getting at. In terms of had a good segue, in terms of Adelhard showing his true colors and the rivalry between him and Rax, we really see that come to fore in issue number 3. We can, if we're ready to dive into that. I mean, so first of all, in both issue 2 and 3, you have, I guess it's Bosk. I'm guessing that's Bosk, who's hunting. Maybe not. Maybe it's not.
No,
Bosk,
it's not
someone else.
Bosk.
Someone else. Okay.
No,
Some Trandoshan, green Trandoshan.
right, Joel? I don't think that's not Bosk.
I know. I don't think it was. I think it was a different Trandoshan. I don't know.
Some other green Trandoshan bounty hunter hunting down these Republic senators. This was the segue I was getting at. Is speaking of folks who are not entirely cracked out to be, or maybe smarter than we think. It turns out this issue number 3 had more to do with the Underworld, for sure. Just connections to the Underworld. It felt it very much didn't just feel like Ethan Sachs' comic. It got back the cast from Ethan Sachs' comic. It had one of his associates. I half expected Tonga to show up on this thing. It was this bar fight and had a trend. That's probably why I thought it was Bosk, but it's a green Trandoshan. Come on, give me a break here. It's not Bosk, fine, but green Trandoshan assassinating this senator in issue number 2, assassinating Barons. Number 3, who's on his way to. Had just come from meeting up with Byler to get him into, I guess it was helping protect Luke or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Being on the other side of this, and we definitely see the Kijimi, the Spice Runners. Yeah. Oh goodness, why I'm blanking on her name. The
Zeva Bliss.
Yeah, Zeva being formidable and being aware and in charge and saying, and pulling the strings. Even her own lieutenant doesn't know that they have the contract to hit these Republic targets.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker included. I put out the hit on these people. What are you talking about? It's like, oh,
yeah. So, we own the contract. So, yeah, really. Alex Segura really channeling what was truly great about Ethan Sachs in all these different allegiances and pretty exciting. Yeah. And then of course, one cameo was actually fun to notice. Ben Solo. Did you guys catch the Ben Solo cameo?
That was awesome. That's great because it shows that passage of time. Yeah. Come on. We all know that Han and Leia got it on the Halcyon in the Princess and the Scoundrel novel. So I'd imagine we're like 6 months maybe into this era, maybe further on.
Putting money down, not really, but putting money down right now. Final issue, they're going to show the birth of Ben Solo. We're going to see little baby Ben. We're going to see Luke and Leia all there. It's going to be like one of the last panels of the
It's a great time marker. You got a baby. Okay, time has passed since we've seen Leia. She had no bump, and now it's pretty large. So the time has passed, and it was interesting seeing Luke struggle against this Trandoshan. Yeah, I expected this to be anytime you get anybody against Luke now, it's just this guy is the ultimate warrior. He's going to take anybody down. But to see him struggling, and then the guy, he ends up running away or whatever. But that to me was okay, this guy's giving Luke a run for his money. Essentially, that's interesting. He's a pretty seasoned veteran of mercenary work. I want to know more about him.
All that to say, it continues to build up the function of that, continuing to build up Adelhard. Someone who could legitimately take a real shot at Luke Skywalker, right? This Grand Moff Adelhard. We got that in I guess the end of issue number 4 of
Insurgency Rising,
kind of luring him in, and now him and Zeva Bliss together can send out this bounty hunter on him to at least send a message to him, Leia and Mon Mothma, that even on Chandrilla, right, the capital of the Republic, where it should be secure.
Yep.
Not everything is as secure. Although I gotta say, going back to with Leia, that was a striking image because we've never actually seen that before. At least not in canon. We've never seen a pregnant Leia before. No. And we have this illusion that pregnancy means vulnerability. And maybe in some way it is, but she still holds her own. She still, is able to take part in the fight. And also not recommended. And I'm just being more kind of poetic symbolic here. Just, a pregnant Leia is someone who can save the galaxy. Right. Obviously, her role isn't just reduced to being Ben Solo's mom, but just thinking about the sequel trilogy, thinking about Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, how her connection to Ben is part of what saves him, brings him back. And so to see it at the beginning, to see that, she's able to do both. She's able to be with child and be with child, and that being an act of strength and a show of strength, not a show of weakness on her part, because that's what pregnancy really is. It is the way all species preserve themselves and endure. And here's Leia. Again, I'm being intellectual, philosophical here, but it's a really striking image of her being a pregnant Leia, being the sign of the endurance of the Republic, the endurance of democracy, kind of like a pregnant Padme, going all the way back there. As we don't see much of that either, but we do see a little bit, being the sign of strength and endurance, even in the face of even greater, more forbidden, stronger evil. Luke and Leia being born in that moment. So, not to take away, not to say, again, you got to be clear, not that the only type of woman is a pregnant woman, or a strong woman is a pregnant woman, but it's a good reminder that also one of the things in Star Wars, that biological family is a theme, and the endurance of biological family and those bonds, despite the evils that would break them up. Luke saying, "I got to return to my family." Literally, the first thing we thought, and that's he's thinking of his sister, right, in that moment. That great moment. Joel, do you have any further thoughts on issue number 3?
Hey, in Legends, Leia was pregnant and got chased by the Noghri by Thrawn, and then went to toe-to-toe against Emperor Palpatine in his clone body.
There we go.
She had Anakin, so he got a lot when she was pregnant. Anywho. No, I enjoyed this. I think I enjoyed this one a little less than number 2. I don't know. I felt this was a bit of an interim one compared to the last 2. So maybe I'll feel a little differently after number 4 comes out and we get the full shebang. I also kind of noticed as I thought about it while you guys were talking that it's not an issue per se, but I can definitely tell this comic feels very much like here's little snippets of things we could expand on, and we just haven't done that yet. And maybe I'll feel a little differently again once we finally know what kind of more of the new comic book runs are going to be, if there are any in the main line. I hope so. We still get the Kylo Ren one, so I'm still happy either way. It's like we get a little bit of like, hey, what's going on in the Underworld with Valance, and here's a little bit of movement. There's like that. There's an Aphra cameo, but like I want more than an Aphra cameo. I want to know what Aphra's going to be doing for the next 25 years. I know little snippets. That again, I do like seeing the Imperial stuff. Cool to see Moff Rand from Lost Stars. Fun fact. I wonder what will happen to him because he actually is supposed to survive, I think, Battle of Jakku. If I'm right about Lost Stars and he had his own little remnant in a nebula somewhere. Because
great memory. Wow.
Oh yeah, but Lost Stars was like one of those books that like tried to say maybe this remnant in the nebula will set up the First Order. This was pre-Force Awakens, and obviously they changed that, but it's still out there somewhere. That was cool. Obviously, the Acolytes Beyond working for Rax, that makes sense because they were in the book. Tashu is with Rax in Jakku in Aftermath Empire then, because they're both serving Palpatine from the Beyond the Grave. I don't think they know he's alive. I will say it's a little weird. It felt a little rushed. The whole Adelhard and the dark side of like, she got a knife. You should betray me. And then she kisses him.
Yeah, what was with that?
That was weird.
Yeah, that was freaking weird.
That was weird, and I felt that was a little rushed. But no, overall, I mean, again, we get to see Ben Solo cameo. I bet we'll see him in little baby form at the end of this. Yeah. Kind of weird, but cool seeing Mon Mothma's poor office get attacked. Poor Mon Mothma's office. And you get to see the new weird. Weasel.
Finally, somebody said it because I was going to say it if you guys didn't mention it.
I forgot about that. Yes.
He's the guy watching the Bounty Eve race, right?
Yes, and
he's also in Solo. Cloud Rider.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he was one of the early rebels. So
Warwick Davis, his face right at us.
I know.
That was great.
That was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I
Mhm.
think I liked it just a little bit less than number 2,
Yeah.
but I still enjoyed this run overall. So
Yeah. The kiss at the end. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of standing over her. He's being very, very warm and seductive. I think. No, he knows what she really wants. So I don't know. I didn't mind. I get what you're saying. It was a little fast, but kind of teasing out what he really wants there with what she really wants with him. So yeah, that was again the
Yeah.
thing, just the now Rax and Adelhard have split the acolytes of the Beyond effectively in that case. That's again another fascinating, tantalizing thing. Chris, you pointed out one throwaway line that you really hope gets expanded on. I think.
Yeah, so there's a line between Bayron and Valance.
ooh, I know this one.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's something about troublemakers from the unknown regions. And he said, "Oh, we'll deal with them in time," or something. Like, wait. So then my mind started doing all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. Are they referenced? Because nobody's gone to the unknown regions yet. I mean, that's where they ultimately go to make the first order. Like, could this be like the Grisk? I'm hoping it is. Like, that was seated in the Thrawn books.
Probably.
And that's the big thing for me is like, oh, they're seeding stuff in for perhaps like a next comic run after this one. And that's might be where like, oh.
Could be, yeah. Sorry, Joel, say that again clearly.
Could be the Sith Eternal for they're all on Exegol. They're clone Palpatine's there, just kind of waiting around, like trying to like quick get the Emperor's get the heart rate going. So it could be like there could be just the Sith Eternal from Exegol trying to get Palpatine some evil medicine. That's my second. That's my second guess. Is it could be those guys if they're on Exegol.
Clearly, guys. It's clearly Yu Zhang Vong. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I hope it is. That'd be cool too.
It has.
It could be a third factor. We don't know.
You guys are right though. It has these kinds of Grisk, Sith Eternal, just unknown. Like our minds go, and it has these kinds of vibes about these other stories that we've seen. Folks coming in. I mean, like you mentioned the Canon Thrawn trilogy, how they've made incursions into Imperial space before. So yeah, it's exciting. I mean, Chris, you were saying how the implication of that could be pretty big.
I mean, this is something that they've been hinting at for years and years and years with the Thrawn novels, with Emperor knowing about some darkness that's out there in the unknown regions by Batu, and a lot of good stuff going on there. But it was also interesting because it was in bold. So it's like, usually when you do that, it's like, okay, pay attention to this. Okay, so that's why I said, okay, this is maybe they're seeding something in. I like what Joel's thinking about with, these characters are in like 1 or 2 pages. Almost like they're getting like a preview for another future series. Kind of like how we didn't have it this year, but the previous 2 years we got the Revelations issues, which were basically a hint at what's to come. Yeah. So maybe kind of in a way, this is sort of doing that. And then I do fully expect like the final issue to come out. Is this going to be done by January or is it going into February?
Good question. I know by December. It feels like it might be. No, I know the first issue of the next arc comes out like Christmas Day.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it'll be done by the end of January. So I fully expect that we'll probably have some sort of either in the back of the book itself or like something on Marvel.com or StarWars.com saying, here's the main series, because we know we got that Luke Skywalker story that's coming out in the comic book day thing. And it's like, why would they have a Luke Skywalker story when that story was already 3-4 months old?
By Alex
Segura, gonna have new thing by him.
Yeah.
He's done a great job with these big 3, at least with the big 2, including Lando. So I totally have I have trust for him to carry into the unknown. No pun intended with what's happening with these characters.
I just wanted to start singing.
There you go. Thanks, Joe. I just want to add to Chris's point. I think that just to kind of set all our expectations, if Tim Zahn is secretly signed on to do a comic book, which would be cool. He's never done comic books except for the Thrawn adaptation.
Yep.
So maybe he decide, hey, I want to write comics now. Then I think it will be the Grisk, because the Grisk are Tim Zahn's baby. So I think if it is, but if it's not, then I would expect either Sith Eternal or some new thing. There's I mean, it's the unknown regions. You can have a bunch of stuff come in.
Yeah,
so that would be like to set my expectations. Tim's on 100% the Grisk. Somebody else, either Sith Eternal or a brand new thing. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, even Alex Segura could do the Grisk. It's definitely possible. There's that. Yeah. Do you guys have any final thoughts? Or, well, I should say, maybe stepping back a little bit. You know, I think what we said at the beginning when this run came out, it had to do two different things. It had to both set up the future storytelling, and it had to tell a convincing story as it's unfolding already. And I mean, that's a challenge to do both those things. And I gotta say, 7 issues in, knocking it out of the park. I'll use that expression a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that's a challenge again to make sure you're hitting all these beats that you need to for the future, but also for issue 12, right? We have Rax talking about the final plan to Jakku here. We have everything with Adelhard, him building it up. Joel, like you said, Adelhard, there needs to be there's going to be some final confrontation probably between Rax and Adelhard, representing this third faction that really could is this weird wild card for us, at least, because again, we know how the Imperial Remnant and the Republic shake out. We don't like Rax and Sloane, their remnant. We don't know how Adelhard's group kind of shakes out, except you can kind of tell something. There can only be one emperor, or none, as the case may be. So, yeah. I'll guess the question then, Joel. Because it's the first time being on since this run came out. How are you feeling? What are you thinking about Battle of Jakku overall so far?
Oh, I love it, man. It's been great just seeing this again. Again, like you said, it is. I think Chris put great. It's like it's like Revelations, but with a main storyline to it as well. Because got those Revelations kind of like little snippets of let's go see what these guys are doing. We're clearly setting up stuff for them. We're clearly setting stuff for the Underworld and Valence moving forward. Obviously an Aphra cameo to say, hey, Aphra's alive. She's okay. She's okay, people. She's still Aphra-ing.
Chelli.
I can almost imagine Aphra just looking at the comic book panel and go check out my future comic coming soon. Wink. And it goes off.
Pull a Deadpool.
Or she would. Obviously maybe setting up some Luke stuff. Maybe I hope. And obviously, and while also showing, of course, this main storyline of Rax versus Adelhard to kind of keep it in the moment. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And I think, I don't know if I said this to you, Matthew, off air or on air or somebody else. I said this to somebody else. I think what's made this really cool is that we're going back to this time period in the timeline, the whole Jakku build-up era. But we're doing it several years later. We have a bunch of stuff we can reference now. Sequels are done. We have the Mando stuff, which is we can pull to as well. We pulled from Rebels. And I think it's kind of cool seeing this era now, but with the stuff we know today than what we did back in 2015 to 2017. So yeah, overall, I loved it.
There you go. Maybe so that's kind of all I've got. I do want to get to some of these comments here in a minute, but Chris, do you have any last thoughts on issues 2 and 3 and Battle of Jakku overall?
So overall, it's something that is living up to the hype. It's very hard to do that with the comics because I tend to blow them out of proportion. I always have these preconceived ideas that they should be all hitting on, and honestly think they have. They're pulling out these huge cameos, characters I want to see again. They're adding tantalizing things, and I don't know. I mean, real quick, going back to the Unknown Regions. Do you think Lucasfilm would allow the comics to do something that big with just a small subset of fans? I almost feel like if they are going to introduce stuff about the Unknown Regions, that needs to be on a bigger scale, at least on an animated series or a video game. Whereas with the comics, they almost seem too small of a medium to push something that revolutionary for Star Wars. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I'll say it.
No, go ahead.
Kind of. I mean, kind of be a little. To be somewhat cynical, to be a little Debbie Downer. I think it would have to be somewhat disconnected from mainline Star Wars. In a way, those Thrawn Ascendancy books don't feel very detached from everything else outside. If here's Thrawn, he's going to go to the Empire eventually. I feel like you'd have to almost like, let's just tell an adventure that's never going to really reach the New Republic and no one's really going to find out.
Yeah, because, yeah.
And then, but it will be fun on its own, but, it's not like the views on long are going to bombard Coruscant.
Exactly. Like, you can't have stuff of that scale because think about it. A year after is Jakku, 4 years after Jakku is Mandoverse.
Yeah.
Like, you thought we would have references by other characters by this point in Mandalorian, where it's like, oh yeah, remember when like the Grisk or the Yuuzhan Vong wiped out like half the planets in our stars? Like you would think there'd be more of a lasting impact. So I don't know if like the story group would want to even delve into a conflict that large until after the Mandoverse, if they are going to do something like that
after
at this
the sequel
point,
trilogy, even
or even that, yeah.
I mean, that's always the question, right? Is how do you what story do you give to this medium given its market reach? I mean, I think what they could do is still make it connected, but make it very preliminary. So the first stirrings of something, right?
Yeah.
The first exposure to something, kind of like you had I mean, he's covered by the flag here, but you had Carson Teva telling what's her name about all again stirrings in the unknown regions, things that stirring of the First Order. This is of course during the Mandalorian. Tyne Cara Dune, that's her name. These stirrings, that kind of thing that a comic book character can then go explore, but not necessarily come to Coruscant yet, or not get the attention to go to Exegol yet, that kind of thing. But yeah, to say something that leads to, I mean, think about Bloodline, think about Empire's End and the Eclipse, and how they gave that to a novel.
True.
And everything how this whole thing ends with Rax and Ray and Sloane. So I think they could do something that'll still again feel connected enough, but just be like the preliminary little start.
An incursion, like they have a small incursion where it's like a small little battle, and they think that they defeat them. They're like, oh yeah, we completely annihilated them. And then there's like an epilogue that says, oh, they're in waiting. They just probe the defenses of the lesser space. According to them, it's lesser space. But okay, we're going to come back stronger in a couple decades or something like that. Like they could do something like that. And then all the comic book readers are going, oh, do you guys know about this invasion that happened before Mandalorian? Like they're going to have these guys come out and they're going to wipe the floor with the New Republic forces at some point. And it could get like the fans out there, the hardcore fans like us, to start putting this out there on the internet, going, oh, wait till you guys see these new aliens or whatever that's coming for the New Republic one day.
There we go. Joel, you have any last thoughts on this one?
I actually think it could be just the Sister Turtle, and you could just have the criminals deal with those guys, because you don't want Luke to find out, because Palpatine's got to stay secret for 30 years. So he's not ready to come back yet.
Fun times. All right, I think we gotta keep the ball rolling here. We got a bunch of comics here. Great conversation. Love this conversation on these two issues. So brought them all together. Fantastic insights there. We got a few comments. I do want to get to these arising from our conversation. Do we know how old Ben was when Leia and Han decided to send him to Luke?
I'm pretty sure it's in
Bloodline, right?
Force Awakens visual dictionary, or the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary. I think he's 10 to 14 years old. I know it's a very vague number, but there is a timeline for all of Ben Solo's history, and I think it is in that book.
Maybe in Star Wars timelines. I don't know. Jesse's got another one, or unboxing the boxes. There you go. Welcome all.
5 years.
Welcome. 5 years after.
I think it was, right, Joel? I think it was right around Bloodline.
Yes. So that would be
6 years before Force Awakens.
6 years before Force Awakens. So that's like 30 years after Return of the Jedi. So they had a long marriage. Let's keep that in mind. They had a pretty long marriage.
Yeah.
This is an interesting thought. Jesse's saying, yeah, I mean, they disagreed about Ben. I think a lot of things about Ben turning to the dark side. And that, but also, I mean, the fact that Leia wanted to be this respectable political leader and Han wanted to be the scoundrel, and opposites attract. But if you're so different, you have to work at it, right? And so they maybe lost the ability to work at it. Like different things.
I always got the sense they separated because Ben went to the dark side, and that's like a child dying, so they just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, like that's the tragedy of that. Some interesting comments here. Yeah, so I'll flag that question there. Yeah, so interesting questions about the interesting that brings up pregnant Leia, bringing up Han and Leia's relationship. I mean, a comic might be a good place to explore this. A novel might be a good place to explore this. So yeah, good questions. Good questions. All right, we got to keep this going on. Thanks again for chiming in there. You got to keep this going on there. Mark Panicia, another sneak peek. Now, I think Joel, on Monday we talked about another sneak peek of his on his Twitter account every Wednesday. He's showing us sneak peeks of Star Wars comics and other things he's doing. This is the Marvel editor, Star Wars Marvel editor. Marvel Star Wars editor, I should say, among other things, and gives a sneak peek of Mark Guggenheim's Jedi Knights, and it features Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan with some very familiar dialogue. Let me bring this up, make this bigger for me here. For the audio, you have clearly Qui-Gon and probably one of these Jedi robes, and then there's this short, stumpy guy and an Ithorian, and I guess I don't know, forget who that is, pulling blasters, saying credits, and the banter. You timed that particularly well. Why? Thank you. Wait, is this a robbery? Credits all now. Yeah, some very, very familiar dialogue there. Is this here's the question, is this a adaptation, scene for scene adaptation of that opening intro to the Living Force, or is it just an entirely new thing? Clearly in the Living Force, they've had the banter going for a while now. I mean, even especially by the Phantom Menace at the beginning there, you see the banter. But yeah, this is, if it's true that this is a take for take, line for line adaptation of a novel moment in a novel. This is again in Mark Guggenheim's Jedi Knights, coming out in a few months. Yeah, that'll be intriguing. It could be a cargo hold. It could be an alleyway. I don't know. I don't know. Chris, you're the one who brought this up. What were your thoughts on this sneak peek?
I didn't put two and two together until I started looking at the comments underneath, and I'm like, where does this connect? Am I missing something? It was you that broke it down. It said, oh, yeah, this is from the book. I said, oh, this is a straight up adaptation of the beginning of that novel. So, I mean, we talked about throwing alliances a little bit and about how, wish that would continue. I really do. Yeah. But it is still cool nonetheless to get adaptations in the comic book form of stuff I imagined in my head. Mm-hmm. And I could see an actual canonical image of what the artist and illustrator had in mind for this scene here. So it's always good. And this artwork, I love this artwork. I'm not sure who's doing the artwork for this, but it looks great, very crisp. Pre-Phantom Menace, guys. It's insane that we're getting pre-Phantom Menace stories in a long form way of Madabek Musapikov. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, no, it does look very much like I can tell it's him now that you mentioned it. Yeah. Very much a Star Wars ongoing artist, regular. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And when you messaged this to me, you said hilarious. Is it just because of the banter or what?
About it being hilarious? Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing with, oh yeah, this is a robbery, is it? It's got that charm, like Obi-Wan is wait, what's going on?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, we got a bit of this in High Republic too, right? I mean, that by its nature, almost like flashbacks. We see, I think in I forget which one it is. Well, I mean, no, different examples, but Oh, maybe yeah, might have been Tales from the Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, where we get Crash and Rue or Drigget and Rue on Corellia, and then we get them on the ship or some. No, we get. I'm trying to remember. We get some moment. I know we did recently, of in the Daniel Jose Older comic from a novel, or I forget which. I think it's Dispatches. In reference to maybe Midnight Horizon, or no, to the more recent young reader novel set on Corellia as well. So that has moments on Corellia. So yeah, it's like you're saying, it's this fascinating thing where we see it on the page, and then we actually can see it. It's a whole other medium. Doesn't necessarily work. I mean, it could work the other direction, but this is always fascinating. Joel, you've read Living Force. Looking forward to this. What do you think of this moment here?
I'm still not sure. Cargo hold or an alleyway. Yeah. I will have to say, just if I'm being honest, I would be a little perplexed as to why are they adapting this from the book? Not because I don't love adaptations, I do. Well, except the streaming ones, but that's a different story. It's interesting because it's like this is like a little anthology ongoing of like, I guess, one and done mini stories from Jedi. Mm-hmm. And I mean, hey, if you want to tell just a moment of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon from a book, that's pretty cool. I mean, hey, go ahead, go for it, I guess. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like that's an interesting way to use your real estate.
True.
But, I mean, hey, if they want to do it, that's cool. I'm just a little surprised is all. I have neither negative, but I'm just a little surprised.
I mean, we know, first of all, in Mark Guggenheim, we trust. He's done some great work in Star Wars already. We know it's going to, this book, it's going to be a bit of an anthology, but it's going to have a through line with Qui-Gon and likely the Jedi from Inquisitors, right? And that's that one shot coming out on FCBD. Mark Guggenheim's story likely is like Qui-Gon and Tensu run. We know that Mark at New York Comic Con told me that this will have a through run with Qui-Gon. So maybe, I mean, hopefully, he'll have to think about how he has thought about how this moment fits with the Jedi Knight series, with what Qui-Gon's up to generally. It's a good question. It's a fair question, but I don't know. I think it'll fit fairly well. I hope. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any further thoughts on this one before we move on. There you go. Alrighty, so it's probably gonna make this maybe a regular thing. Keep an eye out. I don't mind this kind of level of spoilery. I tend to avoid spoilers, but this is like a little sneak peek to get us excited, just like the Legacy of Vader one. So there we go. Yeah, we lost Chris. That's okay.
Bye, Jesse.
Yes, take care, Jesse. Let's pick up some more comments here. I guess there you go. Chris is coming back. He's back. And he's back.
I had a power surge, so it's and stuff out here. So I don't know what
it happens better than what happened to me last week. There we go. All right, one last thing to talk about. We got a bit of time. I gotta move right out of the way here.
Yard.
There's another Star Wars story that came out this week. It came out on Monday night. I saw it on Saturday morning and then saw it again on Monday night. And you guys hopefully saw it also on Monday. Chris, you saw it in New York City. Let's talk about the Space Wizard show, Skeleton Crew, episodes 1 and 2 together. So we are gonna be a bit spoilery. So hopefully everything you don't mind that. But yeah, let's dive right in. First off, I wanna get this on the internet in a bigger, longer way. I know that's being nerdy. I'm gonna be a bit nerdy here, but we'll definitely talk about character and overall story and overall thoughts and acting and whatnot. Adadin, and the kids, they take the test, they be part of the society, become functioning members in this society, this dystopian, very highly controlled society. It's a great work that supports the peace of the Republic. And my mind, she's got the blue, they've got these old Republic, just Galactic Republic credits that for Whim is lunch money, but for this little Wayfarer man guy on the station is enough for him to retire on. This is another High Republic reference in live action Star Wars. I'm pretty convinced.
The best accidental reference ever.
I don't think it's accidental. I think it's.
Oh, I totally think it's accidental. I do not think they know anything.
Great work.
No, I just seen something on Twitter.
Oh, what they see?
You don't use the word "great work" and you don't use the word "Republic" without New Republic.
So
I think. Yeah. I mean, what do you see? Let's see what Chris say.
Okay, so there was when this show was first rumored, its code name was Grammar Rodeo. And in that blurb for whoever did the rumor, they said it was a High Republic connected show. Yeah. So now, boom, this is it. This is the connection. I mean, it's right there. It's right there. My whole thing is this planet was one of the great works of Lina So, and they protected it to be isolated. And these people haven't got out. They haven't. The barrier kept it invisible somehow to the rest of the galaxy. The Empire never interfered, and then they're acting like nothing ever happened. Yeah. So that's.
Well, we'll find out, but I don't trust John Watts. I don't. I think you guys are putting a little too much.
Maybe okay. We like to get excited, but at the very least, would you love High Republic? At the very least, if it's a bait and switch, what a bait and switch. I don't think so. I don't even think that's a tease. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that is. I don't know, trying to use an example.
I think you overestimate people caring.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
Let's do the math. Let's do the math. Okay, so this show was probably made in production 4 or 5 years ago when the High Republic was first created 2018. They were making Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man at the time for Tom Holland, and he was on set with Jon Favreau, John Watts. And they were just shooting the crap, and they were like, "Hey, I got this Star Wars idea." And John Watts, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well I'm making a Mandalorian show." And it's like, "Okay, let's do this thing." That would probably be around the time that Lucasfilm was having his big meetings at Skywalker Ranch, saying, "Let's do this High Republic. Hey, how about we tie this in with some other video games and other things going around? And what about this other show called Acolyte?" All these things were spinning probably around the same time.
Oh, I'm sure.
That makes sense.
I'm sure. I mean, I know this was filming when Ahsoka and Mando 3 were going on. So, I don't know. I'll be very curious to see how even in depth they'll go with it. Yeah. But it certainly is a lost planet that's been not lost for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Joel, be the devil's advocate here. Be the Sith Lord advocate here. Why are you saying that this isn't necessarily a High Republic reference, or are you saying that it isn't going to be that important?
I think it's not a High Republic reference because I don't think they probably use. I don't think they. I just said they use those words just randomly. I don't think John Watts or Christopher. What's the other guy's name?
Christopher Ford.
Christopher Ford. We're thinking, where's the High Republic when they? I don't think they probably barely even know what it is, but the High Republic is.
Well, that's a story group. They're probably like, "Hey, well, we're doing this initiative. How about we just make it the High Republic?" And they're just like shrugging their shoulders, like, "Oh, okay, we don't know what that is, but sure, go ahead. It's not going to affect the story."
They just decide to put that fancy word. I mean, I think if it's a reference. I think it'll probably be like a very loose reference. I don't think. I mean, it'd be cool if it's like they mentioned like during the days of Chancellor So. But I don't know. I mean, maybe if they say like we were attacked by pirates, because I don't know, technically pirates. But I don't think much thought was put into that reference as much as I think I would like it if it was pirate.
That makes one of us. But fair, you're
it's interesting. I just think it's
to that and not calling it the New Republic.
I was about to say that because every other character we've seen in Mandalorian versus everything, they always call it the New Republic, even in the comics and stuff. The New Republic, and then this happened in the comic this week. This happened in the comic this week, guys. Somebody mentioned, it was like one of the headers for the planet. It said so-and-so, the Old Republic. And I was like, that is the first time I think those words were ever written in a canon Star Wars book. To my knowledge, they've never made a reference to the Old Republic. But I'm wondering if this is a new initiative from Lucasfilm to start calling pre-New Republic stuff Old Republic. Yeah. Or something like I'm kind of like when they said Old Republic in that comic, I'm like, do they just mean like pre-Empire?
Probably, but in that case with the senator, possibly.
So I guess I'll put my stance to say I think when they talk about the Republic, yes, I do think they're talking about the pre-Empire Republic. Yeah. Because again, when Tarkin says the remnants of the Old Republic have been swept away. He talked about the Republic from the prequels. He talked about episode 1 through 3 Republic.
Oh, I forgot he mentioned that. The Old Republic in the actual thing.
It gets weird because of EU, where Old Republic actually means the pre-prequel Republic, but that also can mean the pre-Empire Republic. I don't want to get too bogged down into this, but
we have other things to talk about. All right, so 2 votes to 1 that this is a High Republic reference. Again, Joel, that's fair. But you're right; it does remain to be seen. I'm going to
real quick. Yeah, what do you think? It doesn't really matter that much, but what do you think the fan commentary could be if they figure out that a large portion of this show is dedicated to the High Republic, whereas the Acolyte was a High Republic show? You think people are just going to be up in arms like, oh, here we go, it's going to fail because it's the High Republic, guys, this show's going to suck, Matt? Like, I could kind of see the headlines on multiple websites and everything else. Like,
I mean, is it really dedicated to the High Republic because of one little reference, though? I mean,
I'm not saying it is like it's clearly. The focus clearly is on these kids exploring this new greater world that they haven't. We're talking about world building here. We're talking about backstory here. That's why I wanted to start with it and then move on from it. But it's clearly about them exploring this new world. But the tension, whatever it is, whatever the reason that they've been isolated for how many centuries, could just be decades, but. I don't know. Again, I don't think the word "great work" is an exception or is an accident.
Let's go to the great works. Let's give the viewers the viewers on what the great works we know. All right, so we got the great work of Starlight Beacon. We got the great work of Valo, the Pharaoh Valo. Yeah. We got the great work of those islands in that novel.
Quen,
This could be another great work. That's it could be, so we have 3 official ones. This could be the 4th. Did we ever get an actual? I don't know why in my head I'm floating around 7, but that could be like the 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah, probably so.
Cool.
Probably kind of like what they're aiming for. I'm guessing.
I don't know how I feel if one of these 7 wonders of the world is suburbia. That's kind of scary.
Well, so that's fascinating though. That it's
self-sufficient. Yeah, it's I think what they mean by the work is this is a perfectly functional, self-reliant planet that is a utopia, that they don't have any problems, any wars, any violence. Everybody's living in harmony and they're happy and they're just doing what they want to do, I guess.
They're not happy. That's the point.
Well, yeah, I guess there is a couple people that are. Well, according to the government, this is like, okay, this is as close as we can get it. I don't know.
Yeah. Something went very wrong. I'll say that.
Well, the thing that went wrong is, I mean, it's such a great comment on AI in our time, right? The dependence on these algorithms to define people and to slot them into different things that they may or may not be suited to. They may or may not like or enjoy. Clearly, Wim's father hates his life. Right, he's just so stressed, so exhausted, can't actually have a relationship with his son. Wim is bored out of his mind. He's so stifled by this system, and that's the thing. Is if it is one of the Leaders' great works, it's really gone awry because they stop thinking, they stop caring. Clearly, the whole comment at the beginning, give these those are jobs for droids,
Part of me kind of hopes this is just a lost colony situation like in Star Trek.
Yeah, it does seem to have those vibes. for sure. So there.
Very
so
Star Trek.
yeah, in that way, yeah, it does have those kinds of vibes.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Chris.
I want to talk about the first scene because, well, first of all, you mentioned I watched this on a big screen in a movie theater. So did you, Matthew. That looked awesome, man. I was pumped. I did the crawl giving us a backstory of, oh yeah, this is in the New Republic. There's these pirates that are going around. I instantly thought about the Nile. These pirates just going around these like lonely space lanes, picking off these fat vessels of loot and shooting these cylinders, and then these guys with jetpacks and exosuits just it looked great. It was awesome. I did not expect to see all that violence so quickly in the show that I thought was going to be more geared toward kids. Yeah. This was straight up like people were making the reference, straight up like A New Hope, like Vader coming through with the stormtroopers. They're just killing the rebels left and right. Like they spared no expense. It looked great. The prosthetics, incredible stuff. Like they made what they had with that budget more than any Star Wars show I've seen since maybe Andor or something. Like it looked really good, and it really set the tone. It really set the tone of the pirate theme. So good.
Got a question here. Speaking of that scene, clearly a reference to the beginning of A New Hope with Vader and Antilles. That's Ramus Antilles, I believe.
It's not Wedge. I'll just say that. That's a different Antilles, not related.
No, it's Ramus Antilles.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you think too many nostalgia references? I mean, I thought, I'm out for seeing nostalgia. If that's maybe it's a conversation. I don't know. Speaking of the conversation, they're gonna find stuff. I've heard a rumor about next week. They're gonna find stuff to hate because that's they do. That's the question. Is just weave it into a good story that does connect to the Mandoverse and to everything happening there. I want to ask you guys, throw this to you. Thoughts overall? What did you think of these first two episodes? Joel, I'll throw this to you, and
very strong
as they hang together. So good.
Very strong start. I really liked seeing it all. I love the kids. Again, I think you and I, Matt, we talked about this. These kids feel like kids. They are written like kids. They act like kids. These are legit children. Some of it's because they got the privilege of actually having a childhood, and like Ezra and Omega, and Ahsoka, who kind of don't. But in terms of just how they're written, like Plainsies, or like I'm going to claim Plainsies on the inside. Genius. Like that is how kids act, from what I am told. So these people who are writing it, they know how to write children, which is a good thing. Because sometimes you don't always need to. This is very much a pirate story. I think this is very much a pirate story. Through and through, perfect timing, perfect era to tell this type of story. I was not surprised by the violence because they said a lot of 80s kids movies and 80s kids movies are violent and heck, they got kids swearing and smoking. This is actually more tame than a lot of 80s kids movies. Trust me, watch 80s kids movies. They are quite violent. I love Neil. Such a cute little dude. Fern, I love her. She's like, oh, this kid, she means business. Do not mess with her. I'm scared of her too. A little Shmi the Joy. Very epic. The whole, again, I do really love the mystery of the planet. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Whether or not the intent is High Republic or not, something's going on. Something's weird and sinister with it. It apparently is a lost planet of treasure. There you go. You want to impress me? Say that was Marcion Rowe's treasure. He hid it, and now it's turned into suburbia.
That would be something. That would be something.
That Marcion Rowe is rolling in his grave. No, my wealth has been turned to suburbia. That was great as well. And we were talking about connected to the Mandoverse. Another thing, I don't think this will be as connected to the Mandoverse. I think it's just kind of in the era. But it feels very detached from the Mandoverse outside of Here's the New Republic, and they kind of suck at defending their pirate lanes. I don't expect, honestly, Din Djarin or Thrawn mentioned at all. Maybe Carson Teva on patrol, but that might be it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe something about Navarro.
Maybe like a little jump there, but outside of that, it's like I don't expect anything really. This feels very self-contained story, and I like that about the show. Oh, and
Yeah.
I couldn't help but when I saw that crawl go, I bet Dominic loved this. You know how he feels about the crawls. But no, I love it so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I think this is really well crafted.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the connection. Yeah, you're right. If the only thing it's connected to is the incapacity of the New Republic to actually take care of business here, I can see that at least feeling connected, feeling like it's part of this new era after the Empire, where the order of the galaxy, the Empire, and the Republic before it, the great work of building the Republic. I mean, that is what Lena So was trying to do. That's just not, that presence just isn't there anymore. So these pirates can roam free and take the opportunity. Another thing that comes up in the Aftermath trilogy with that pirate fleet. To see these kids thrust into it, like I was saying, both on Sunday and on Monday in our different shows here. These kids really complement each other, really, really well acted together. And, that's the thing with this show. It's this much needed injection of levity and much needed injection of, Star Wars takes itself, Andor and Acolyte take themselves very seriously. The first 4.5 episodes of Ahsoka take itself very seriously. Ahsoka, episode 5, starts to inject that childhood, the snips. She recaptures that. This one, like you're saying, these kids start there, and then they're the main characters. They're the point of entry, and it's this great palate cleanser after a lot of division. And I want Star Wars to say controversial things. I want Star Wars to be edgy. I'm really looking forward to Andor and what it's going to say, but it's also nice to have this fun, exciting adventure, intriguing adventure with Jod, who only shows up at the end. Is he a Jedi? Well, does he only show up at the end? Maybe he shows up at the beginning as well. That's a good question. But to these kids thrust out beyond anything they could possibly know, and just with their charm and hilarity, but also some real stakes and real implications. And it's the greatest start imaginable to a show. So I'm excited for it. Chris, I'll let you give your full thoughts on what do you think of Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2?
Oh yeah, so I absolutely love them. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I like it, the more I can't wait to watch the first 2 episodes again.
Yeah.
As I was a bit of a doubter. I've said it before. I'm just like, oh gosh, the trailers haven't sold me. It's looking like a Disney Channel show to be, like the way they cut the trailers. It's like, oh, I don't know. It's going to live and die by the cast of these kids. Are they going to be really cheesy? What's going to happen with the direction of the series? And I was within, like you said in the private chat, within 10 minutes.
I said that on your podcast on Underworld.
The podcast. I was like, okay, yeah, I was there with the Neil guy. Yeah. I was there from the moment that Wim was playing with the action figures, because I immediately thought about myself in this, playing in my bedroom on the bed with the different action figures, making up different storylines and everything else. And like going downstairs with the starship and messing around with that. But then the 80s stuff, I'm in the last couple of years, I've become, I don't know if I could be nostalgic for things I haven't actually lived during, but like for movies like E.T. and Goonies, and the other night I watched Hook with Robin Williams. Like I love those vibes of like those movies. Like you were right, like they do get violent and stuff too, but like at their heart they have that heart of adventure, which I feel like we haven't gotten from Star Wars in such a long time. Like we haven't had this good of adventure in 2 episodes alone in such a long time. Ahsoka is like that samurai epic. Andor is that, very deep seedy kind of how does rebellion start on a micro into a macro level. Acolyte is just about the Sith and the Jedi. We haven't had just a fun romp adventure, which at its heart, Star Wars has always been. It's that coming of age story. Wim is that Luke Skywalker, but then I like how each one of the characters is already defined. That first episode is a little bit slow, but it needed to be because we got all these new characters. One of them is kind of the shy girl that knows how to fix things, is really smart. The other girl just wants to be a leader kind of thing. You got Wim who's trying to have his head is in the clouds about his future. Then we have Neil who's kind of like the nervous kid that has the biggest heart. And they did well with fleshing all that out. And then the music, the production quality, everything about this was great. And for me, what really helped it stand on its own two feet is just like Mandalorian season 1. There was no other like cameos of characters or anything that we had seen before. So it's really able to stand on its own 2 feet and be like, hey, we can have a good Star Wars story in this part. And what was bothering me too, going up in the lead of this, is like, I don't know. I feel like whenever anything is like live action on the big screen, whatever, small screen, whatever, like it's got to have like big galaxy ramifications of, all right, why is Lucasfilm putting this much money into something? It's got to be big. It's got to do something profound. And it probably will do in the end. But that kind of thought went out the window when I was so absorbed into the story for how small scale it was at the moment in these 2 episodes. It's like, oh yeah, I don't care about that. I'm having a good time just like hanging out with these kids, laughing a lot, smiling a lot, laughing a lot, being in that theater. It was great because, first of all, it's always fun to be in a theater with nothing but hardcore Star Wars fans, but still everybody was laughing. I was paying attention to the reactions of the people. And yeah, there was a certain kind of thing of like, yes, it's good to be back. And everybody seemed to be enjoying this thing. I look at again, this stuff doesn't matter, but when you're on the internet all the time, it happens to matter a little bit. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 94%, 80 something 6 or something percent audience score. Like besides Andor, I don't think we've seen anything even remotely that high. It's a unanimous thing. Okay, by like 1% or something, but like it's great to see that Star Wars has apparently rebounded. I see a lot of the naysayers for things like Acolyte and other things that are on board with this one. People that I didn't expect to ever watch Star Wars again, with how critical they've been following them and stuff. And it's like, so for me, that's really heartwarming to know, like, all right, Star Wars has been in kind of a downward slump, whether you want to know it or not. It's just not been as powerful as it has been in the last couple shows and different things, but this one has seemed to kind of like Mando season 1 in a way, where it's like, oh no, everybody seems to be on board. I'm telling my coworkers, I even told my coworker that doesn't even like Star Wars much anymore because of recent things, and I was like, dude, you honestly like check this out. Like, and he's actually probably open to it, so there you go. Yeah, I mean, people are going to find things to complain about. I think next week they probably will. Just because they like to complain, but like you said, in terms of the scale and the scope, you were, like you said, you were laughing, you were engaged, people were excited and happy about this show, and it's gonna be capturing in a good way, in a genuine way, in a new story for our time, what it means to be a kid stepping out into the larger galaxy. Even if it is just these 4 characters in their adventure, that is profound enough. That is plenty profound. And I think that is, even if they doesn't do anything galactic in the galactic scope, there might be something to do with Jude Law's character, John Dawood. What's he up to? What is he using the Force or not? He probably is, would be my guess. But yeah, even then, the legacy of the Jedi. Yeah, he might not be, but either way. The point being, if it brings a nice warmer feel glow back to fandom, again, I want Star Wars to be controversial. I want it to take risks. I want Andor to say whatever the heck it wants to say about current politicians or whatever. But again, it's equally profound to have a fun, exciting, joy-filled show that this show looks like it's doing. So we want to chime in there.
I mean, who cares what fandom says? I mean, fandom doesn't know what they want. People who say they never watch Star Wars, they're lying to you. Trust me, they're lying. Fandom is the most fickle bunch of people you'll ever meet. But
we love fans, but
I agree. I am a self-loathing fan. But it is kind of nice that this is a very laid back show in a way. I don't think any of the others, except maybe Mando season 1, kind of was. Although Mando season 1 kind of has the whole first Star Wars streaming show ever, so it's got that pressure building up for it.
Yeah.
Where Book of Boba Fett's got Boba Fett. Everyone loves Boba Fett. Kenobi, that's episode 3.5.
Yeah.
Andor. Andor was kind of a sleeper hit, but also it got that dark, depressing, not depressing, dark intensity to it.
Yeah.
Acolyte, again, dark, kind of serious, very serious. And Ahsoka, again, is kind of trying to be kind of the middle saga in between the 6 and 7. This, again, is very... Here's some kids. They're hanging out with pirates. I don't know what their impact on the galaxy will be. It will be. I mean, again, that's one of those we have to kind of wait to see the whole show before we really we get it. In some ways, I feel like if anything, if Lucasfilm wants a happy fandom, maybe just stop trying to make big things, make small stories. Maybe Chris, maybe you're wrong. Maybe they should just make only small, unimpactful stories. I'm kidding. But it's sort of like, I don't know, man. This one, I don't know how
scale back on the stakes. So no more Jedi Biblical Epic, I guess.
No Jedi Biblical Epic will go through. No episode 10 through 12.
We're joking, by the way.
We're joking. But again, I just feel like it's just going to be these kids. And they have adventure with pirates, and then they go home, and their lives have been improved somehow, and they're now a big happy family. I'll end though with a kind of question. Do you think either Jod using the Force on those keys, or did he get like a secret little metal detector in his pants, his cloak, and he's just tricking the kids because they were talking about Jedi, and kids are easy to fool?
That's the thing. The ending was the one thing that got me scratching my head. It's like, how long has he been standing there?
Yeah.
Like, if he had the Force the whole time, why didn't he just do this before? Like, what's this guy's deal?
Maybe skeleton crew. No, I don't know.
Well, maybe because he needed a ship. He needs a ship. So he was like, oh, these guys have a ship. Like, I can get my chance to get them out of here. I could scam them.
So the nice thing is we might not have to wait that long to find out. And here's why I think that is.
You have all these cryptic teases, man. Somebody just spoiled the whole episode to you, apparently.
Well, no, just all this. No, I don't know that. I don't know. All I know is just some other thing about that. But my guess with John Newwood is that we might find out sooner rather than later, because one of the nicest things about these 2 episodes is that they don't have much. They don't tease much about these main characters. They don't string you along. And it was great that they strung us along with Omega, right? They strung us along with Grogu a little bit. But, here they just say it like we're saying. These are the 4 kids. This is who they are. This is what they're about. So maybe it isn't plying its kind of draw on just intentionally drawing out mystery. There's some shows have been kind of notorious for that. Picard season 2 was painful. It was enjoyable, but it was painful for that reason. And like I said, at the end of watching it on Saturday in the theater, Cineplex, Observer in Toronto, but I didn't feel painful. I didn't feel pained. I got to see this. So maybe they'll tell us something sooner rather than later. I don't know. So good.
I was going to say, it's a little surprising that kind of the only, I don't even want to call it a mystery because they're not making a big deal out of it, is the fact that's Jude Law under the mask. That has to be him, but like they're kind of.
It's totally him.
Yeah. Oh, I know
that was his accent. Like, come on here.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of like Chimera and The Stranger, right?
Yeah, I'm just a little surprised they're kind of dragging that one out a little bit, but maybe it's like, but again, it's not really a mystery because they're not, the kids don't care who a pirate captain is, so maybe they'll reveal it pretty quick. I don't know.
I'll be honest, I didn't even think that. I didn't even ask the question, like, was he on the mask? But now that everyone mentions it, I mean, I'm on board with that. Again, it's kind of like the Chimera and Stranger thing. We all kind of figure it out. Yeah. So anyway, that's those are our thoughts on Skeleton Crew. You guys have any last Any last words? Any last comments on episodes 1 and 2 of Skeleton Crew?
Beautifully made. I really felt these were well crafted. I mean, it's funny, Chris, you had some doubts. I was actually pretty hopeful because I love John Watts' Spider-Man movies, and also he had some pretty good directors with him as well. So it's like I am a big fan of those Spider-Man movies. I had a pretty confidence of like, if this is a concept that could yes, conceptually I could see this going south, but I think John Watts in terms of execution could pull it off. And so far, 2 episodes in with his own crew, he's pulled it off quite well.
Yeah. Chris, any last thoughts on Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2?
Yeah, if you look ahead at all the directors, there's some really good talent attached to these episodes. So I'm looking forward to really seeing what these people bring to the table, because it must have been something special for these people to sign up to work with Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's good to get the newer people with Star Wars, not the usual directors. So looking forward to that. Really looking forward to seeing more of like the Indiana Jones adventure. Like, I would like to see if like every episode they go to a new planet to try to figure out. I mean, I like the mystery. I like the idea that, first of all, who is Jar Jar Underwood, and then what's the deal with the planet? It's great that we have some kind of good, like you were saying about, we're satisfied about what we've been given, but there's plenty of mystery going forward. And now I'm just so taken by this cast that I'm already thinking about the future, like you were saying, about whether it's season 2 or what is the future for Wim, Fern, Neil, and KB. Like, they're these kids. I don't even know what their ages are in real life, but like I can imagine them being reoccurring roles in Star Wars going forward. I mean, there's a lot of potential for when you have kids that young. Like, are they trying to do something very long term with them? Will they show up in either of the 2 Mandoverse movies? Maybe in the Rey film? I don't even know at this point. I guess I could. I mean, in the Rey film, they would have to get a recap, like obvious characters, but but the two upcoming movies, I could maybe see them fit in there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, especially if even how popular these characters become, which they're already starting to be. Yeah, sounds like a good move. Joel, go ahead.
My gut tells me this is very much a one and done sort of show.
Sure.
In terms of like, there's no Plagueis 5 minutes looking back and like, I'm plotting things. I think this will be very straightforward. The kids get home. I could see Jod surviving the show and kind of him being the guy you kind of sprinkle out, because he's a grown man played by Jude Law. So, you don't have to worry about the kids getting older. They're getting older. It's going to be a little weird. Ferd is like a teenager, even though it's been a year. So I could see that. Maybe they could do like a semi-sequel a couple years down the line after the Mandoverse big event stuff.
Yeah.
And, they can come back and like, oh, here's John again, and he needs kids' help, and they're older now, so they can really be his crew of kid pirates.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Jod, he's definitely Jude Law, established actor, established A-list talent. So, I think you want to use him for more if you can. But also, again, these characters, Wim could show up in the Rey film if they take as long to make it. No, they're making it soon enough. They'll have to recast. That's fine. But that'll be fun. Going towards the future. The one last thing I'll leave this on, and I'll say more on Monday night is, or no, I guess it won't be around Monday night. Say more next time I have the opportunity to, is this show has the opportunity to really distill down, because these kids are just stepping out themselves, distill down what the essence of Star Wars is, the essence of what the hero's journey looks like, again in Star Wars, but for our time in 2024, 2025. So, off to a fantastic start. Speaking of looking towards the future, next week, we got a comic book next week. It continues the exact story we were talking about before. It's Battle of Jakku Republic Under Siege #4. I love how it's coming out. I think we all love how it's coming out. It's such a quick clip. I keep saying that because it's quick clip. We've never gotten comics come out a week at a time like this, week apart like this. Nice. That's exciting. And then possibly the Insider short story, and Chris, you got yours in. So we'll, if mine comes in soon enough, we'll do that. We, personally, we might be taking a break this coming Wednesday because I've got other commitments. But also, we're gonna look at the schedule and spreading out, see if we have maybe Christmas Day, Boxing Day show. We'll see. We'll keep you all up to date. Crystal, what are you looking forward to in Republic Under Siege number 4?
I guess.
Like,
I'll start. Sorry. I guess for me, again, I am looking forward to just the Adelhard Rex rivalry play out, right? Like this guy's either gonna have to fall in line, or he's gonna get crushed, or you're gonna have to pray that he survives the Battle of Jakku the aftermath, and maybe prepare for the Warlord Gideon era, at least for a little bit before Thrawn comes back and takes over the show. So that I'm looking forward to that, and I guess since this is kind of a revelation thing, all the little teases that were possible story arcs in the future. So that's exciting.
Yeah, Chris, Republic Under Siege number 4. What are you looking forward to?
I think Lando's coming back, so I'm always a fan to see Lando and his famous Lady Luck ship there. So I am still waiting on bated breath for Han Solo because we've seen a cover of him with the beard from the video game and from Aftermath.
2, yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to finally seeing Han and Chewie doing something this time. In the Falcon helping out. Yeah, freeing the Wookiees, all that cool stuff. And I want to see Byler Balance and Luke team up. Yeah. I feel like that's imminent based on what the mission Byler has and what this falling out of the Spy Master's dead now for the Republic. The Senator's dead for the Republic. How are they going to come back from that? I forget what happens with Sandrilla in the books. Wasn't there some big event that happens?
Yes, I remember. Basically, Ray Sloane goes for a peace settlement to Chandrilla to make peace.
Is it Ray Sloane or is it
it's
Masameda?
No, it's Sloane herself. Rex and Sloane to Chandrilla to make a peace settlement with the New Republic, and then he activates a bunch of sleeper cell agents who try to assassinate Mon Mothma, and she gets hit badly. There's a big terrorist attack on Chandrilla. It's not good. Yeah,
no, I definitely remember that.
So that wasn't what we just seen. This is something else.
No, that's a lot bigger. And that's with the sleeper agent is Snap Huxley's birth father, right?
Oh yeah.
Raid, not in their office, so
yeah. So
maybe next issue that will happen. Maybe.
That'll be climactic. That'll be epic, even though we've seen it already. But yeah, it'll be pretty excellent. Yeah, I mean, we haven't. I just realized we haven't had Han Solo in this year. I didn't just realize this, but I'm realizing I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. We haven't had Han Solo in this era for 5 years in comics. At least in this kind of general time frame. The last we see of him, he's frozen in carbonite he's the Hansicle, right? And love that.
I miss Han actually a lot.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun if he shows up in the next issue. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I mean, whatever. A lot of this thing is being built up. Does Adelhard make it all the way through to the end of this run? Probably. But yeah, looking forward to all that continuing. Again, you guys mentioned a whole bunch of stuff. I'm looking forward to all of it. It's been great. It's been great one. Great run. Honestly, I don't have any more detail to say. But I do think we're hour 43, so we're pushing some time here. It's been a great episode. Thanks for both of you guys for coming on. Obviously, Chris, thanks for sticking out for the last how many issues it's been? 64 weeks. There we go. Coming up on 52. Joel, thanks for jumping in. Tractor Beam. This has been, we got something really great cooking over on Monday nights. Thanks for jumping on to Tractor Beam to chat about comics here tonight. I'll let you tell us what am I talking about with Monday nights, and then let us know where we can find you on the internet.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I hope I can come back when the whole arc is done and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I definitely want to do that. I'm going to try and listen to the audio drama because it's short. So hopefully not as long as Temptation of the Force, which was long. It was long. It was long.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and on Monday on Ion Cannon, Matthew unfortunately will not be with us this week. But I have brought a very special friend of mine to discuss how the Galactic Empire has been depicted throughout the history of Star Wars, through the original trilogy to the 90s EU to modern day. So we're going to talk about that and what it means for our modern society, about the world we were in and the world we're in now. Hooray! So look forward to that, everybody. And of course, you can find me on Blue Sky at JID20234 and JID20234. And of course, on Star Wars Underworld Discord, where we will be having a game night. And already, Chris, people are installing the Marvel game. I will be installing it too.
There we go. Yeah. So that Iron Cannon podcast, that's 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel and Twitch and Iron Cannon. We have our own Twitch as well. Chris, again, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for letting me on last Sunday. We're talking about Outer Rim transmissions and everything going on your YouTube channel and wherever else we can follow you on the internet.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter talking about video games. Xbox just put out their little year in review, so I posted that there a couple hours ago. What games I played the most, all that fun stuff. So talking a lot about games, Star Wars over there. And then, as I mentioned, I'm dealing with a lot of Star Wars content. A big surprise there on the YouTube channel over at youtube.com/StarRaptor. As I mentioned last week, I put up my review of an early copy for the new Imperial trilogy, The Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Saw Gerrera featured in that. I also am working on my review for the Insider issue. I do not know what number that was, but I will find out. But yes, that's
around there.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yep. And I have my review, of course, for The Tempest Breaker. So if you want a little longer spiel of me talking about that went up live a little bit earlier today. But yes, youtube.com/StarRaptor is where you can find all that content. Yes, it was a lot of fun talking with you both, especially having Joel here talking the Battle of Jakku. Oh, man. Can't wait. We're halfway through.
Yeah.
Let's see how it finishes. Yeah, more than halfway.
Yeah. Yeah, building towards great finale with that last arc there. Yeah, it's getting great conversation. You can find me usually Mondays 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Ion Cannon podcast. I'm taking both podcasts off next week, I guess. Just how it turns out, how things shake out, different commitments and whatnot. But yeah, normally you can find me on both of these. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, MNEUG1138. It's MNEUG1138.bsky.social. I guess that's how you do tags and whatnot on that thing. Also at beaches.foodie, although I haven't posted much in a month. I realized that. It's also on Instagram and Twitter. I'm still over there, NEUG485. Probably chatting about Stalker and Taylor Swift and probably some Star Wars and Skeleton Crew. Who knows what else I tweet about. There we go. But yeah, also, of course, at Ion Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and Blue Sky, ioncannon.bsky.social. As you see down at the bottom, again, bring this up. Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege, number 4, coming out next week. Go to your local comic book shop. Yes, if digital is more your speed, feel free to get it on digital, but go support local comic books. Especially after last week, they probably need your help a little more. So definitely pick that book up. And Insider issue, I believe 229, that has I guess it's a High Republic short story, I gather. So check that out. Looking forward to chatting about that when I'm back. But until then, Joel and Chris, happy reading.